The rains no longer come as they used to. The land, once green, is turning brown, and the shea trees, the lifeline of northern women, now stand lifeless. For generations, these trees fed families, paid school fees, and kept young girls in their communities. But today, they tell a story of loss, of migration and survival. Mariam Hadi, a former shea collector, now works as a head porter known as Kayaye in Kumasi.
Initially, picking shea nut was a profitable venture for me, generating between 500 and 1,000 cedis monthly. However, the business I invested in didn't thrive due to the decline of the shea nut industry. As a result, I had to relocate to Kumasi and take up work as a porter to make ends meet.
Mariam is one of thousands of women and girls who have left their hometowns, now working as Kayaye in Ghana's southern cities.
What I'm doing here is tough. Back home, being a shea nut collector was good.
The work is exhausting and pays very little. Many face harassment and danger, yet they stay because back home their farms no longer feed them. A 2022 study found that many girls from northern Ghana migrate to the south to work as head porters. Out of 168 girls surveyed, 17 were between 9 and 12 years old. 32 were aged 13 to 15, and more than 70% were between 16 and 19. Most spent 3 to 5 years in the south doing tedious jobs before returning home with small savings to support their families. Dr. Regina Tanguru is the head of the Forest and Climate Change Division at the CSIR Forestry Research Institute of Ghana.
Increased temperature and reduced rainfall, which is drought, are definitely going to have a stress on the plant, and that affects various physiological properties of the tree in terms of its growth, in terms of its fruiting patterns. We've already talked about the yields. So these are some of the stresses that we can expect. And of course, if we also talk about global warming and climate change, these also lead to increased buildup of dry biomass. And when you have increased buildup of dry biomass, you also end up having more, what we expect as more risk of wildfires. And so the wildfires also tend to affect the trees and bring an added layer of stress for tree growth and tree productivity.
Dr. Guru warns that if Ghana does not act quickly to protect its shea trees, the migration crisis will deepen.
You know, the shea tree is one of the most important for the people of the savannah. People rely on it to gain some income. So if we do not pay attention to it and actually improve on the shea value chain, what is going to happen is that we can expect more serious negative economic consequences for the people, and that will also mean that more people will be faced with economic challenges, vulnerabilities, and that could lead to more migrations than we are currently seeing.
Mariam Isako is another former shea collector. Mariam has left her husband and children back home.
Carrying heavy loads can cause neck and body pains, although some days you might be fortunate and get a lighter load.
My name is Suleimana Mariam.
My name is Suleimana Mariam. The work here is difficult, but shea nut collection was a lucrative business. The problem is they are scarce now.
3 Mariams, 3 towns, one shared story of family separation, endless toil, and dreams buried in the dust of migration. Shamsia Isa is one of the leaders of the Kayaye ladies.
May the land once again be fruitful with an abundance of shea nut and locust beans, allowing our communities to flourish. This would enable us to preserve our dignity and avoid the difficulties we are currently facing.
Some of these young porters carry loads that far exceed their physical capacity, and despite their hard work, the mega earnings often aren't enough to afford proper meals. To make matters worse, some are vulnerable to robbery or exploitation. As a community, we often have to supplement their earnings to ensure they can buy food. We are humbly appealing to the relevant stakeholders to intervene and address this issue so these children don't have to resort to hair portraying as a means of survival.
The shea tree is often called women's gold. Its nuts are used to make shea butter, a vital ingredient in cooking oil, soap, cosmetics, and even chocolate. In Ghana, the shea industry supports nearly 1 million women, most of them small-scale nut collectors and processors. Across Africa, more than 60 million women depend on shea for income and survival. Losing these trees will mean losing one of the most important women-driven economies in the region.
All these weights heavily is on Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. They have to rise up, sit up, and do more researches and support these children. They have to know the number of children, the number of teenagers, the number of young women within the local communities in the southern parts that they have become porters just to earn a living. They need to support them. They need to liaise with other agencies.
For these women, home is the land that once gave them purpose. In Tamale, a local organization is fighting to keep hope alive.
My name is Ajia Alima Sajito Said, Executive Director, Savannah Women Integrated Development Agency. We have been in communities where you can hardly count 10, 15 young girls. They've gone. So it's a real thing, it's happening. So the impression is that you have to go to the south to get those opportunity and those services. So you have instances where people were relying so much on share for some activity, for some of their incomes, but it's also not there now because probably in terms of volumes, we are not getting it the way we used to get. So the push factors are among them the issue of lack of economic opportunities for more women.
The shea trees grows wild across northern Ghana, covering over 77,000 square kilometers, yet faces an uncertain future.
The shea nut tree is an economic tree in the northern region.
Clement Matumasin is the executive director of Dream Village. Clement's team promotes regenerative agriculture, restoring soil, biodiversity, and livelihoods.
What needs to be done specifically will be policy changes, that we make general policies. We know that some of these policies are already in existence, but enforcing them is a problem. So can we go back to the drawing board, work with the local community?
Ghana's national climate change policy already recognizes migration as one of the biggest human security threats. It calls for reforestation, green jobs, and education for girls to build resilience. Yet the most direct and relevant framework is the Ghana National Migration Policy 2016, which identifies climate change and environmental degradation as major drivers of internal migration, especially from northern Ghana. The policy seeks to reduce forced migration by improving rural livelihoods, creating jobs, protecting vulnerable groups, including women and children. But for many women like Mariam, those plans remain distant words.
Protection of the shea trees, we need to look at it holistically from different angles. Now, if you want to protect a resource, we cannot forget about the governance aspect of it, and so the society's interaction with the resources. So we need first awareness creation. The people, arguably, they already know the importance of the shea tree, but we still need to let people understand that this tree is something that needs protection. If you go, or if you have been in the savanna ecosystems, in some places you tend to see a lot of shea trees that may make you think that they are abundant and they do not need any protection. But it might interest us to know that the shea tree is classified as an endangered species.
Globally, the UN estimates that by 2050, over 200 million people could be displaced by changing weather patterns impacts, and women, especially young girls, will carry the heaviest burden. The shea trees may no longer provide as it once did, but the women of northern Ghana, like their trees, remain rooted in strength. They endure, they adapt, and they hope even as the ground beneath them continues to change.
As a woman, I'm deeply troubled by the risks I'm facing here. The loss of shea nuts has pushed us into this predicament. We pray for the return of abundant shea fruit, which would enable us to restore our pride and dignity.
From Kumasi to the parched fields of the north, the story of Ghana's climate migration is a call for action, justice, and hope. A report by Nurudeen